Hey, good morning, everyone. I am Bob Friday, Chief AI Officer at Juniper Networks, and today we are coming to you from Las Vegas. And in today's session, I am joined by three of my most favorite Mist customers who are leading the way on cloud AIOps. And with that, let's start with some introductions. Ben.
Ben Shapiro. I work at a school district in Eugene.
Ah.
Alan Crow. I'm a principal engineer with Nexum, a value partner of Juniper.
Andy Lawrence, and I'm with Robert Half.
Well, thank you for joining us today. I thought maybe we'd start the session off with kind of a story of, how did you start the Mist Cloud AIOps adventure? How did we get on your radar? What made you take that leap off that controller cliff and jump into the cloud AI adventure?
Absolutely. So our journey started in 2019 when we started looking at a way to get away from our aging equipment and our wireless infrastructure, which was not delivering for our customers. So we started exploring different avenues and looking into solutions. And our key thing was not only finding a different wireless solution, which would not provide us just the benefits of having a new infrastructure, but also give us the answers that we were missing, because wireless was our biggest pain point in networking.
And so maybe a little bit on, cloud, AI, give our audience a little bit of experience. When you made that jump, was AI really even on your map, or was it more the
AI
cloud
was
adventure?
absolutely not on our map at that point in time. We really just needed the visibility into wireless, which at that point we didn't have any. So a lot of our tickets went unanswered, and we had a lot of dissatisfied customers with our wireless performance.
Okay, so the adventure really started with cloud. You just needed to get more visibility.
Yes.
And when you made that leap to cloud, did your leadership boss, did they have any concerns of moving to cloud, or was that not even an issue back then?
They had some concerns, but it was primarily driven by our engagement into it. And we were absolutely fully behind it because we initially tried to POC. And once we POC the system, we are absolutely sold on it.
Okay. Now, Alan, maybe we move to you. You're a partner, little different perspective. A lot of different vendors in your portfolio. Were we your first cloud vendor, or were you already a cloud fan by then?
We had some cloud vendors, so we started looking at Mist in 2018 as a way to look at what was going on in the marketplace. So we're primarily a security company, so security played a huge part of that. And one of the big things for us was visibility. Being able to see what was going on in those wireless networks, which in traditional systems can be a huge challenge. So that was one big component of it, is what was Mist going to bring to our clients to give them that visibility and increased security posture. The second piece then is we are a managed service provider too. So one of the pieces that we do is running networks for our clients, and we needed a system that scaled for that. And really in the traditional networks, it became a bigger challenge to tie together multiple disparate networks and those kind of pieces. So something like cloud was definitely on our radar to allow us that flexibility. We looked into some of the cloud-esque vendors of the time and just weren't impressed with what they offered us. So once we saw Mist, we were sold.
Yeah. Now maybe because from a partner's perspective, when we actually started Mist, we actually try to optimize the solution for managed service providers.
Yeah.
Because the vision was, hey, customers are going to want to be able to have someone help manage these networks going forward. When you went to the Mist adventure, is there anything you appreciated? I think we talked yesterday about transparency.
Yeah.
Has Mist actually changed the managed service providing space?
I definitely think it has, especially for us. So we operate a little differently, wherein we don't own the equipment. Our clients own their equipment. It is their network. We're just operating it for them. We don't believe in black box solutions. We don't believe in obfuscating information to make ourselves look better. So we're all about full transparency in our managed service practice. So Mist giving the clients the ability to log into their system and see everything that we could see and give us that ability to then still run their network efficiently, help walk them through problems directly on their screen was huge. That was a huge benefit to Mist that others had not looked at the time.
Yeah, and the same thing, cloud, AI, so you kind of started the venture in 2018. Was AI even on your roadmap back then, or was it mostly a cloud adventure?
I mean, I'm a sci-fi nut, so AI's been on my roadmap forever. But AI and computing was still very fledgling. So yeah, I don't think we were necessarily looking for it. I think a big piece of what sold us on Mist was the underlying data. And good data leads to good visibility, and that was a huge thing for us. So as the AI components come in, I think one of my biggest appreciations for what Mist does is its transparency in that also. A lot of companies will AI wash their products. AI is the new zero trust. And so having Mist be able to say, this is what we're using, this is what we mean by AI, this is how we're using it and where it's being applied, has been huge for both me and my clients.
Yeah. Any good stories where AI has actually helped you yet?
Oh, tons. I was actually on a call flying out here, or just before I flew out here, where one of my clients had an IoT provider, primarily used to working in the home space, and some of their devices kept dropping offline, and they kept saying, well, it's the wireless network. And I could go right into the data. I could ask Marvis, hey, is this device still online? Marvis says, yep, here's all the statistics behind it. Here's what it's transmitting. And between that and then traditional firewall logs, being able to tell the vendor, no, here's what it is. Here's of your 800 devices, this is what we're seeing. All data straight out of Mist to be able to give them that visibility that they weren't used to. Being a home provider, they asked us, they said, well, how do you get this information? And so being able to point at Mist and say, this is where it is. And it took them 3 weeks to pinpoint the problem that I told them was a problem 3 weeks ago.
Right. Yeah. Now, Ben, I think we just learned you're a fellow winemaker.
Yes.
So I always tell people, making great wine starts with great grapes, right? Great AI starts with great data. Maybe first question, what do you think? Making wine, wireless, networking, which one do you find harder now?
I mean, both are challenging for different reasons. One thing I learned in grad school when I was modeling microbial metabolism, which is why I became a winemaker, is that all models are wrong. And you have to have good inputs to have good outputs. So the same is true for AI as for winemaking. You have to start with good grapes.
Okay. Now, I think you represent the K through 12 customer, right? This is the lean, mean IT machine. So maybe the same question, your cloud AIOps Mist adventure started, I know Sudhir got on your map somewhere along the way.
Yeah, so it started in 2022. I'm very new to networking. I've only been a network engineer for 4 years. But I'm in an organization that has a very small team on the back end, and it's got a lot of users on the front end. So we're faced by that challenge, as well as we've seen an explosion in IP-based devices, life safety systems, paging, refrigerators, floor scrubbers. I like to say that K through 12 is the king of IoT. So this is where AI comes in that we have very few people who are looking at the network and many, many devices.
Yeah, any good stories where AI has actually helped you or saved your day?
Yeah, so one of the challenges we see is in building new schools, the construction company needs networking to finish the building. And within one polling period of commissioning a switch, Marvis identified that there were some bad cable terminations. And I was able to hand that over to the contractor and say, Marvis is never wrong, please fix this.
Yeah. Now, the K through 12, exactly how big is this team here? We got 20 people on the team?
Less than that.
Less
We
than
have
10?
about 3,400 employees, and there's a small team of 6 to 7 people who run the back end of the organization.
Okay, so you have 6 or 7 people. I think you told me, how many schools are we taking care of here? There's
40 sites.
40 sites. Yeah, because I think, when I've talked to a lot of my higher ed customers, one thing I've heard that, before and after, before Cloud AIOps Mist, they were spending, maybe 80% of their time taking care of unplanned events. Now they move to this cloud AI architecture, they have much more time to expand their responsibilities. I mean, when you look at adopting a cloud AI architecture, how do you see it leveraging your capabilities or making more time for doing other things?
My goal for implementation of Mist is for people to ask Marvis before they ask me. It effectively allows anyone to be a network engineer. And that's a way to best utilize all the resources in your technology department.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Robert, let me come back to you here. And, Robert Half, kind of a classic carpeted enterprise customer. Maybe you give the audience a little bit of feel for, before you move to a cloud AI architecture, what type of problems, we were seeing in the more classical older architectures?
The older architecture, primarily it was the lack of visibility into the networks, especially the wireless. And it just proved to be the biggest challenge that we had. And like I said earlier, we had a lot of tickets that kind of did not go unanswered. The best thing we could sometimes do is just reboot the equipment in hopes it would solve the problem. We didn't have actual information that would point us to something legitimate where we could go directly after.
Yeah.
Right. And recently, even we had an office that had a terrible wireless experience, right? And right away, I looked at the information. It said the HTTP server is bad. And sure enough, we had a push about 3 months ago that somebody did and missed an office, and Marvis found it for us, right? But it wasn't until where it was brought up to our attention that, hey, this office is not having good performance. We could see right away that the information was showing us where the users were impacted, and right away would pinpoint it, where before it was absolutely not visible to us.
Okay, that's why I call the fancy math starting to help the correlation, because I think most IoT teams, they probably see the same problems day in, day out. It's really these harder problems where the AI and the fancy math is starting to make a difference. Alan, on the kind of the server, this managed service provider partner side, in terms of cloud and AI changing your operational expense and experience, any stories around, before and after, truck rolls, how does cloud AI actually change the operational expense of a partner managed service provider?
Yeah, so we're able to get that visibility and that detailed depth and do troubleshooting without having to have someone on site. So we interact a lot with our clients' on-site personnel who are varying levels of IT savvy, shall we say, asking them to set up a wireless packet capture system to capture some packets as to why something's not working just isn't usually something that they're ready to do or have the equipment for. So in the past, we would have to ship out a kit, or we do professional services, so we'd send an engineer on site. Now we can do it all remotely, right off the radios, and provide PCAPs to anybody who needs them. So that's a huge benefit there. I think the other side of things is as we're helping clients provision systems, being able to run a script that in the background generates 200 sites in about 30 seconds. So we can onboard all of their sites from a CSV that they give us to be able to see what's going on, get things set up, get them all provisioned, and then all they have to do is ship APs to the site and have someone plug them in. It's made the deployment process much simpler for our clients too, which has been a huge boon for them.
And then are you a Python programmer now?
I will not call myself a Python programmer, but I can hack together other people's Python pretty well.
I guess from a partner perspective, I hear about automation, as we move to these cloud API models, that is really one of the things that people are looking forward to, is trying to automate all these different workflows. Yeah. And that our IT teams are actually moving from, CLI to becoming API programmers. Yep. In the partner space, do you see that happening, or where's the automation happening in the partners MSP space?
Both from the MSP side for responses. So we do, full managed detection response. So being able to target scripts that run off of notifications we get from Mist. So we use webhooks to dump the data into our monitoring and SIM processes. And so we can use those scripts to then automate responses, whether that's isolating a device or something like that. And then the other side of that is being able to provide functionality that clients are looking for that maybe isn't there. So I've written a simple script that will generate basic passphrases for clients for some of their networks, where it's 2 words and a number, and then give them a nice pretty QR code, which is very similar to Mist's Access Assurance. But in this case, I'm able to brand it with the client, so it makes their marketing teams happy too, which is always a benefit.
It may be the same thing in corporate enterprise space, embracing automation, more Python programming, more API programming. from what you've done in the past?
Absolutely. So right now we're able to push updates to our APs pretty quickly, where before it was site by site. It would take us several nights, a couple engineers, overtime. Right now I can push that in just less than 30 minutes, verify everything, everything's up and running, and we're good to go. Same thing with our quarterly password changes on the guest network. Before it was stumbling back and forth between a dozen different SSIDs, and right now, 2 minutes, it's pushed out and it's done.
Yeah. And maybe, K through 12, any words of wisdom for the other K through 12 schools out there? Lean Mean, IT Machine?
I mean, if you're on the fence about Mist, just jump over the fence.
Yeah. Well, maybe cloud. I mean,
Yeah.
because I hear a lot of education, moving to the cloud is always a big issue. Now, I think in your case, that was not a big issue, right?
No, and in some ways, we wanted to move to a controllerless setup because we have a very diverse physical network, but we were centralized into one site, especially for wireless. And my goal has been to decentralize this.
Okay. Now, you guys all know Sujay, right? My other co-founder on here. I have to ask this question: dynamic packet capture. This was his favorite feature of all features, was being able to capture these packets when there was a problem. Using it?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Every day of the week.
I never have to do port mirroring again on ports or find a device that can capture at like 10 gigs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic because we don't have to set up separate ports to capture the traffic, anything like that. It's literally when a problem occurs, the data is right there in front of you. You can download it, take a look at it, see what's going on.
Okay. So now you guys have all been on the Cloud AI adventure, I think probably the longest, 18, 19, 22. So when you look at the AI component of this adventure, it sounds like you guys all jumped onto the cloud bandwagon, and that was the first step on the journey here. Now that you've been on the journey, where do you see the AI piece taking you? Now you've been actually using it for the last couple of years. Where do you see AI actually being able to help you going forward?
Just speed of resolution. AI is able to cross-reference so many data points that I could never dream of drawing the connections between.
Okay. Any?
I'm looking for it being able to perform more automated response. So things like the RMA solution. We have the data on when an AP is not healthy. I'm looking for that workflow to be, for my clients, an AP shows up and then they're like, oh, I need to replace this. I think those kind of automated changes, which I know are still, we still manually gatekeep them for some good reasons, but I trust Marvis at this point to run a network.
Yeah, for us, we have a lot of legacy equipment still, and we have to keep it updated. We do configuration changes, and a lot of the time we use it as the canary in the coal mine. We can reference the APs, Marvis, to see that everything's performing after the change, and it does capture issues for us, and then helps us point exactly what is not working, not functioning properly.
Yeah. Now the other great feature we just announced is Marvis Minis. This is at the top of Sadir's favorite list right now. And any of you had a chance to actually try Marvis Minis yet?
Yes.
And for the audience, Marvis Minis is a new feature where we're basically making sure we get data before users are on